It's wild card weekend. There's a bunch of money up top in daily fantasy sports contests. We've been given the 3-day slate, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, which is absolutely beautiful. Let's find some shippers in salary cap DFS. It's short king summer, dude. It just feels like no one in fantasy sports ever learns anything. Does he mistime it, or is Brock Bowers just a grown man? Brock Bowers is just a grown man. Dare I say, Rich, football might be back. In the words of Lane Johnson, this offense looks constipated. It's short king summer. All right. Welcome back, Jacob, to Thinking About DFS. You were, I believe, stuck. A polar bear chased you out of your igloo last week. Just very, very, very Canadian things for you last week. And I assume that people will be very glad to have you back, because I just did it solo last week. I just said, you know what? We're just going to rip it.
You.
We're going to do 13 week 18 games. Thankfully, thankfully there were a bunch of games that honestly just did not matter at all. Yeah, man, we are here.
Raw dogging a week 18 DFS slate. That is like, your listeners and viewers need to be truly grateful of what you are willing to debase yourself to do for them.
Well, I messaged Daigle, because normally John Daigle from ETR is who I call in, and he's like, "Oh, sorry, dude, I'm at a wedding in India, so just not gonna align time zone wise." I was like, I got one friend who is.
I love the idea that he is at a wedding in India, and the only problem was the time zones. Like, if the time zones would align, he would have been more than happy to hop on from India to do a podcast on week 18 DFS to discuss like Joe Milton. Like, shout out Dave.
Knowing John, I think. Knowing John, I think he actually probably would have done it. Truly, he would have been like, dude, whatever. I'm on the Darjeeling Limited right now, but I'm ready to talk about Carson Steele. All right, well, we're here. We have honestly like a couple pretty good games. Some games that are not nearly as good. 6 games is right about, like, this is better than the week 17 slate. Remember the week 17 slate? It was 8 games. There was like only one total above 40. This is better than that. So I feel pretty good. And I mean, the Texans, as is their birthright, we're going to begin with the game that basically is dedicated to this franchise. The 3:30 Saturday afternoon game. The Los Angeles Chargers traveling to play at the Houston Texans. The Texans, I mean, does limping in even cover what is happening for the Houston Texans right now? This is a team that has basically not been competitive against a serious team in 2 months. I mean, they are just walking dead. They're maybe going to be using Deontay Johnson on his 3rd team this season as a starting wide receiver, because things are so dire.
Yeah, this is a game where, like, I understand what Vegas has to do, right? Like, Vegas has to take into account the power rating over the whole season. They have to take into account home field advantage. And so you end up getting a line that's like Texans +3. But, like, I feel like everyone in their heart, like, is there anyone picking the Texans? Do you know any single person that's picking the Texans to win this game?
I literally don't know one person picking the Texans. Yeah, not even. Like, Liam gave it that the Chargers are also limping in terms of just not having very good players, because the Chargers don't have very many good players.
But the Chargers have been good all year, and
the Chargers have been good all year. Yeah,
like, I don't think the Chargers are limping in. The Chargers beat the Broncos in, like, a very good, important game. I forget what happened after that. Maybe they lost a game. I don't think so. No, they obliterated the Patriots the next week, and then they beat the Raiders. Like, the Chargers have been doing their thing. I think they're pretty clearly the 4th best team in the AFC. This would have been even a funnier game if the Steelers wound up in this game, just because it would have been the 2 teams that, like, have no interest in being part of the playoff tournament going up against each other. That being said, as bad as the Texans have looked, I do think there are some interesting plays here for the wildcard weekend. I think you always want to try and I think you always want to dabble in that first game to some respect, just to try and gain a little bit of information. Because to me, the most fun part about playoff DFS and, like,
this is like the
is my most fun
slate.
weekends. Right. Like this weekend and the next weekend, to me, are the most fun DFS weeks of the whole year. And the fun of it is like you're playing this evolving organism of a tournament over time, and you're gaining little pieces of information at each stage. And part of that's who you fade, part of that's who you play, obviously. But then you're kind of figuring out like how much of the remaining chalk can I play? It's like if we take the Thanksgiving slate, but we play it over 3 days. So to me, I'm looking at guys like, especially I'll probably play some Nico lineups, but like the ownership on the non-Nico Texans with Tank Dell out, John Mechie, Dalton Schultz, and then Deontay Johnson, frankly. What's that going to end up on? I don't think it's going to be very high. And then just because the Texans vibes are so bad. And, if you can hit big on one of these cheaper guys and get yourself like a 15 to 20 on any of them, that's the kind of information I think is really valuable coming out of that first game. So those are probably the guys that I'm most interested in playing here, outside of like Vlad McConkey, who I think is just a legitimately great play on the other side.
It'll be interesting to see what does happen with Lad's ownership. He's pretty expensive at the wide receiver position. He's like not that much less expensive than Puka and Jefferson. There's also, particularly amongst hand clickers, people who are not using optimizers, of being like, oh, dude, what? I don't want to take a guy from the first game because then if he sucks, I just have to sit and look at his snowflake all week when I'm swapping. Like, I know that because I'm a fish too, and if I'm building
I do
hand,
hate that feeling.
I hate that. Yeah, imagine you play 5 teams over the course of a weekend, and you play Lad on 3 of them, and he goes 4 for 40, and you just have to sit and fiddle with these lineups that are 100% dead all weekend. It's terrible. I think
that's when you simply open it up and go, all right, time to fire into the Sunday only slate.
Yes, the Sunday only, the PTP on Underdog. I'm kind of intrigued by Mixon because I very much doubt this 27% ownership. I think that seems 8% too high, roughly. Like I said, just no one thinks the Texans can win this game. And then conversely, J.K. Dobbins is 6,200, right about 18%. I'm worried about his health. I'm worried that the signing of Zeke, obviously, like I don't think he's going to play in this game, but it is about being like, we actually don't know if we can rely on this guy if we do make a deep postseason run, because he left the Week 18 game banged up. He came back in, but we are talking about a fragile guy.
Yeah. I think I'll probably find better options than Dobbins, like especially as Quentin Johnston has kind of emerged here recently. Then he's not even really getting the PPR spam that he was getting kind of in the middle of the season. So if Dobbins has not really been all that efficient since early in the season, and if he's not going to get the target volume and he's not going to get like more than a 50-60% snap share, it all just becomes like, does he score a touchdown? So I don't think he's like a meaningfully different bet than say like a Brian Robinson or something, who I think is more appealing to me. So higher total game. And I think I'm probably most into Lad from the Chargers side. QJ is probably gonna have a lot of ownership on him coming off of that ridiculous Week 18 game.
I'm kind of into QJ. I mean, not as like crazy giga chalk,
because you've always liked QJ. You're so like this is the divide. Like there's people that like QJ as a prospect where it's like
I did,
and then the people who hated QJ as a prospect are like busted coverage rate. That's me. So I'll do anything except for admit QJ. I'm also pissed because I had a lot of money on QJ's preseason under, and I had it parlayed with several other things, and all the other things that I had it parlayed on hit. And QJ went over his preseason over under in Week 18. That was like the one sweat that I had in Week 18 was whether QJ and Chigakonkwo were going to go over their over unders, and Chig left with an injury, and I was like, sorry, man, but fifth pump, and then QJ spoiled it all.
He did. Mechie would be my punt Texans wide receiver du jour. It's hard for me to imagine Deontay Johnson getting up to speed given everything that has happened with him over the last 6 weeks. It's certainly not impossible, but I would not be betting on it. Let's move on to another game that only Like, you have to be such a right-wing slappy to pick the Steelers in this game. You have to be the converse of like a ship-chasing slappy. You have to be a true right-wing slappy to think that the 17 team total Steelers are drawing live here. This is a team that has looked so lifeless.
Mark Kabbally thinks they're going to win.
Mark, well, he does. I mean, he also thinks that Mason Rudolph is going to find his way back to this team. So I will put it to you very simple. Who scores more touchdowns in this game, Lamar Jackson or Derrick Henry? Because that, I think, is probably the answer to who wins this.
I thought you were going to say Lamar Jackson or the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Definitely Lamar.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed. That is what it comes down to. I mean, that projected ownership on Lamar, if you're an audio listener, we are staring at a screen that says 3.33% P own.
There's just no way. There's
Lamar Jackson.
No way.
Who's like the best fantasy asset in football. So that's interesting. I think that both 3% on Lamar and the 12% on Henry both seem like they're shooting low just based on the vibes. Like, I think people are going to want to play the Ravens. They're a very fun team to play. They're both first round picks in all the playoff best ball contests. So I would take the over on all of that. Probably the most interesting, like if I was going to get really into a play in this game that I'm going to be very overweight on, I think it'll be Isiah Likely, and maybe Andrews a little bit too, but no Zay Flowers in this game, we think.
No practice on Wednesday before a playoff game. I would lean that he does not play. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think a lot of people are going to flow into Bateman, which is totally fair. But I'm just looking at this. I'm thinking playoff game, right? Like they're going to want to play their best players. I don't know how much like Aguilar and Tylan Wallace they want to rely on in a playoff setting. Now, maybe they get way up and they don't have to pass the ball at all. But to the extent they do pass, I think that the tight ends could potentially both have really high route rates in a game without Zay Flowers, or at least if they'll design stuff for Likely, especially because Likely is, I think, their next best yards after the catch threat after Zay Flowers on this team. Like, that's not really Bateman or Andrews' wheelhouse. So I could see some like tight end screens and stuff. I think Isiah Likely at 3.2K. That's like, he's been a guy he's my most drafted player actually in the playoff best ball contests. And I think I'm going to be really, really in on him this week too.
He's probably the best value play. I'm a little bit worried we end up in a scenario where he's like owned in the flex as well. Like people are basically playing him as a punt wide receiver. Like I'm worried he could get to 20% or so on one of these slates.
At 9. You're telling me that's going to be wrong by under 50%?
Well, here, let's just filter by
double.
Let's just filter by all tight end ownership.
Okay.
Kincaid at 4K, Goddard 3.9. I guess these
Kincaid 18% is incorrect. That's not
these other. I guess these other tight ends are cheap enough that actually it probably won't get there. Like Hawkinson's 4.2, Tucker Kraft 3.7. So probably not. You're probably right.
There's going to be ownership coming from Kincaid. Like I'm in like a pick'em contest where you just draft like the highest scoring players at each position with like a bunch of like morons from law school who are like not on the projections.
Yeah.
They're just like living in the vibes. And Dalton Kincaid was like the 10th tight end taken. Like no one wants any interest in this guy, including me.
Which is funny because I really like him in the underdog stuff. So here's a more relevant and important question. Let's assume Zay Flowers does not play. Who is the second wide receiver on the Ravens? Is it Aguilar, who has not played in a month? Is it Tylan Wallace? Is it Devontae Walker? Is it any of these guys? And do you have any interest in any of them?
Like the other wide receivers? I mean, if I was going to play any of them, it's probably Aguilar. But I think I'm mostly just going to focus on playing more into Likely and Andrews. Like I think Bateman's a good play too. It's just I think he's pretty volatile because he has such a downfield role. And again, I think it's the skill set. Like they use Zay primarily as their short area yak guy. That's not Bateman's game. So I don't know that, and Bateman's also not going to gain routes. He already runs all the routes. So I don't think that Bateman's actually is affected by Flowers leaving as much as his ownership will really climb. I think that the other guys are all far more affected by Flowers leaving in terms of available routes, in terms of the area of the field where they get their targets. So probably looking mostly likely in Andrews. I just don't want to play Nelson Aguilar, to be honest. Like I draft him in playoff best ball stuff in the 10th round, but like, I don't know.
Yeah. I would be aligned there. And then if I was playing the Steelers running back, it would definitely be Jaylen Warren over Najee. But yeah, that's all I got there. All right. The Denver Broncos against the Buffalo Bills. This is the Sunday noon game. Team total of 19 for the Broncos, 27.5 for the Bills. I suppose the question here is, will Josh Allen bring anyone with him in this game? Will will Amari Cooper play? Right now, Amari Cooper is probably not playing based on most recent. He's not been with the team all week. He has been missing with a personal family issue. So he's not gone through any of the practices, which would make Keon Coleman at 4.6 more interesting, would make Kincaid more interesting to me. Shakir, I mean, I don't know. And then James Cook, the James Cook thing, his role is like terrible. This is a man who plays less than 50% of his team snaps, doesn't even get close to 100% of their inside the 5 stuff. His quarterback takes all his touchdowns, yet he finished tied for the lead in the National Football League in rushing touchdowns, which seems absurd. He's only 6.7K on DraftKings. Where are you at with the Bills?
Yeah, so I would say even if Cooper does play, I think that my favorite Bill to stack Josh Allen with is Keon Coleman. His role is steadily increased. He's efficient. He gets downfield looks. He gets end zone looks. So I think his ceiling is most clearly tied to Josh Allen. I also think he actually has a ceiling, especially at a pretty low price. Cooper, even if he plays, has a pretty crappy role, and I think he's honestly just washed. Khalil Shakir is fine. It's just like he's not the archetype of player I want to play into ownership ever, right? Like he's like a kind of a high floor, low ceiling, gets a bunch of short area targets guy, and that's not really my jam if he's going to be super owned. I don't feel that afraid of a Khalil Shakir ceiling beating me, so I would always rather just take the outs to the floor there. So yeah, I'd probably play, if I'm playing Josh Allen, I'm probably playing him either with one of his tight ends or with Keon Coleman.
I really like Josh doubles here because it feels, I actually think Denver probably will be a little bit more frisky than the line indicates.
I agree.
Yeah. One thing that is very funny is seeing Marvin Mims projected to be played at $5,100 after just like spending the last 2 years telling everyone Marvin Mims is actually good, and then for everyone, including his coach, to be like Marvin Mims is not actually good. Marvin Mims is terrible, and then now all of a sudden it's the most expensive he's ever been on DraftKings, and I assume the same on FanDuel, and no one wants to play him, or people do want to play him. If this ownership is correct, we're seeing Sutton at about 13%, Mims at 10%. I mean, Mims is probably generationally bad compared to Sutton at that ownership. If that band spreads, if it's more like 8% on Mims, 20% on Sutton, Mims becomes better. And look, I will be one of these suckers trying to play Dalton Kincaid. I'll be Lucy in the football with him.
When did Big Kincaid get to you? You used to resist Big Kincaid.
Honestly, it really is that it's the playoff best ball stuff and just like literally looking at their team Pro Football Reference page and being like, this is the best offensive football. They score 30 points every single game, and this guy's second on the team in targets. It can't be possible that he is this bad for fantasy. It can't be that he is this bad.
Yeah, I can't say. I'm not sure if I have even 1% exposure to Dalton Kincaid in playoff best ball.
If I told you
part of this is ideological, like every single time that I have the choice between Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, I click Lamar Jackson. I'm legitimately going to be like 40% exposure to Lamar Jackson, 0% exposure to Josh Allen. So I just don't click the Bills. But also every single time I have a chance to choose between Dalton Kincaid and Keon Coleman, I choose Keon Coleman.
I just take a lot of them both. I do like a lot of like 6 Bills teams and stuff and 6 Ravens teams and things like that. So like if I told you at the beginning of the season, Josh Allen has an MVP season, how many touchdowns did he throw? 28 touchdowns. Yeah. I mean, I would probably vote for Lamar, but I'm not calling him. I'm not calling him fraudulent. And I told you that Kincaid was second on the team in targets. You'd been like, all right, fired up. Now that ended with him having 448 yards and 2 touchdowns, which is that is a Hayden Hurst ass season from Dalton Kincaid. But
I'm pretty sure the most yards he's gotten in an entire game this year is 53.
Hey, but you remember that 170-yard touchdown that the linebacker just made the incredible play? That was all Liam talked about for about 10 days.
That's
Kincaid was open for a 70-yard touchdown, and a linebacker made a really good play on the ball. Yeah. James Cook, in, out, don't care.
I always find myself kind of mixing in Jimmy Cook. I like that he has an explosive element. I think he always has a legitimate ceiling. It'll just come down to the ownership and kind of what else I want to play. I don't think I'm going to go in like building concepts around James Cook, but he'll definitely be in the pool.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that works for me. Let's go ahead and move on to Green Bay and Philadelphia. So obviously, it's weird.
So sick of the Green Bay Packers.
I am also sick of the Green Bay Packers. Like, have you heard of the forward pass? Do you like
that game against Minnesota, dude? Like I was pretty much overweight on everyone in that game in my dynasty finals. So like I wanted that game to be, 40. I wanted that game to be what the 49ers and Lions game ended up being. Just back and forth. And like the Packers' refusal, even down 17, to participate in that football game. Like it was just, they're down 17. And it's like first here's a handoff to Emmanuel Wilson. Like, and then I have to listen to Tom Brady lecturing me about how brilliant Matt LaFleur is and how great Josh Jacobs is as they continue to just waste downs repeatedly the whole game. It was insane. I mean, then obviously they make a game of it as soon as they finally start having to drop back to pass every single down. If they would just play that way from the jump, I think I would probably pick them to win the Super Bowl, but they're such a ridiculous team. I find them absolutely infuriating. They're like, I have a lot of Packers futures. I like a lot of their players. There's no team that just causes me more aggravation when I watch them in the Green Bay Packers. I'm probably going to bet their money line this week, and I'm probably going to be like working on tying my rope by halftime when they just continue to run Josh Jacobs into the line with a 10-point deficit. So not looking forward to watching this game, but how do you feel about it in DFS?
Are you ready to light the candle, brother? There's there is literally nothing in the way for Dontayvion Wicks right now.
Yeah, there is. There's Matt LaFleur and a minus 13% PROE incoming.
I would actually say the thing standing in his way is his drop rate.
That too.
I believe I'm going to pull this up and check when I throw it back to you, but 20%. I'm fairly certain he set a modern NFL record for drop rate. That is a classic Ian Hartitz stat, and I'm gonna double check it here in a second.
Feels correct.
But
feels correct.
I want to toss this to you. For a 7-2 matchup where everyone kind of universally agrees that the Eagles are probably the best team in the NFC with how banged up the Lions are.
I don't agree to this. I think the Eagles are a bunch of frauds.
That is insane. What? Come on, dude. That is.
I don't think Jalen Hurts is good at all. I think that this offense is a house of cards.
Dude.
Their entire team is dependent on 2 rookie cornerbacks. They're gonna lose this weekend.
So, while I disagree with the entirety of what you said, and may God have mercy on your soul, I don't agree with the last part, or I do agree with the last part, which is for a 2-7, they feel insanely live to lose this game because the Packers are a good team. Like they are just straight up. They are a good football team. They have good players. I think Jordan Love is good. By the way, I was going to say shout out to our dynasty pods from the offseason where I was really high on Jordan Love and didn't really pan out, but those will be returning soon. By the way, I did pull it up. Can't really make this up.
No.
The leaders in drop rate this season, Alan Lazard, 17.8, obviously former Packer, Dontayvion Wicks, 17%, and then Jaden Reed at 15.4%. How about that? And Marquez Valdes-Scantling is there at 9, so just sort of the whole gamut of Packers guys. Wicks to me is definitely the best value wide receiver because in a game where he hits, he's going to hit with a 62-yard touchdown or something, like a 2-touchdown game. He still leads the team in targets per route run. But yeah, I did just want to ask you, do you think that this is ripe for an upset? Because if this is pretty ripe for an upset, then Josh Jacobs is going to be underowned, I think.
Yeah, I'm going to play Josh Jacobs for sure. I'm definitely going to play the Packers to win this game. I think that they're quite live. Like I just don't believe in the Eagles at all. But maybe I'll be proven wrong.
You do not like the exciting lights. Jacob is on the record as he does not like Cooper DeJean and Reed Blankenship.
No, I love Cooper DeJean. Like I was go find my tweet history on Cooper DeJean. I wanted the Colts to draft him in the first round. Like he was like my favorite player.
People are saying he's our Jackie Robinson as a white cornerback.
Yeah, I don't think you'll find that tweet from me. I love Cooper DeJean. I think he rocks. I just think that this whole I mean, I believe that their rookie corners are very good. I don't totally trust 2 rookie corners in a playoff environment, even if I think that they're great and will have great careers. And then really it just comes down to that, like, I just think Jalen Hurts sucks. I just don't think that he's good at all. So that's why I don't trust the Eagles. I think that like I think they're kind of a regular season gimmick where they have like a running quarterback who can't throw to the middle of the field.
God, I cannot wait to tell you in 2 years that Nico sucks. Nico, how do you say his last name?
Imaliava?
I'm not even gonna try. I need to get in the lab and really dial that in before
Nico Iamaliava.
I tried
Nico
to
Iamaliava does suck. I'm not, yeah, like that's true.
He's gonna be the quarterback.
He's gonna get there though.
He's gonna be there for the Raiders in 4 years, and I can't wait to tell you that he stinks.
I need him to be there for the Colts. That's what I mean.
I suppose we probably should talk about Saquon Barkley as he will be.
Yeah, why is he only 7% projected? That's not going to be true.
Because this ownership is a function of the projections that have been updated, and the projections don't. This is the blitz. I bet. Here, let me.
Right.
Let me pull
both
it over.
Of these. So like both of these ownership projections on we talked about Henry was 12% earlier, and then Barkley at 7%. I would bet anything that those come in low. I just think. Short slate, people are going to start their lineups, like especially for a hand builder, they're going to start it with like Henry or Barkley. Maybe what that's telling us is that they're good fades, right? If they are telling us that this is what the ownership should be, because I don't think it's what the ownership will be. But I don't really think Barkley is a good fade. Like I think he's going to get absolutely peppered with touches. I think that there's a lot of appealing ways to save salary. Like we talked about Likely, we talked about Mechie, we talked about Wicks. These are all plays.
You do Likely and Wicks, and you're slotting in Barkley easy. No sweat.
No problem.
All. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think Jalen Hurts sucks. So I think that they're gonna ride the shit out of Saquon Barkley in this game. He's gonna have like 32 touches and probably score a bunch of fantasy points.
I disagree with that. I like Devonta Smith quite a bit. 5,700. He just feels underpriced, and I think Love is probably
not going to be owned at all. So
in a game, I mean, Jordan Love. This was one of his 2 good fantasy games of the season was a game where he like tore his knee in half against the Eagles
on a very slippery field, but
on that field. Yeah. So I think
would you do a Love? Well, I won't even say Dobbs because even though he's a good play,
I would do Dobbs. Yeah, I would do.
Okay, so love Dobbs Wicks. Would you?
Well, think about
Dobbs Kraft, love Wicks Kraft. Like I like any of these Love doubles that will inevitably result in no points being scored.
No points, but
Josh
they will
Jacobs
be
getting a bunch of carries. But the Skolansky bucks, I think, are high.
Yeah, you do Love, Barkley, Dubs, Wicks, and you can just play pure chalk around that. And I think that is I think that's a good team. All right, here's the fantasy bonanza game. You've been wondering, we're like, oh, these guys, it sounds like no one in this slate is owned. How would it be possible there's a 6-game slate and there's no one owned in the entire slate? Well, I'll tell you, it's because all of the ownership is coming from Washington and Tampa Bay. This game is in Tampa Bay. Washington with a team total of 23.5. Tampa Bay with a team total of 26. Bucky, Stone Chalk. Daniels, I think, will probably be the most owned quarterback. Mike Evans, even at 7,900, very owned. McLaurin will be owned. Probably not as much on Brian Robinson Jr., but McMillan, Ertz, Otten, or Durham, depending who starts. Eckler's only 4.8. I actually think Eckler at 4.8 is an awesome play because he is going to fit this game. They're no wide receivers left with Noah Brown out. Like they're like, Olamide Zaccheaus, please do something. And then Olamide Zaccheaus is like, no, thank you. I will have the worst drop that you've ever seen wide open in the end zone. We'll see a lot of pony personnel, a lot of 21. How do you play this game in a creative way? Or is it just as simple as you can't, and you just are going to have to use non-chalk pieces around these stacks?
Well, I agree with you that I like the Washington running backs. I think that's an undervalued piece of this game. I like either of them. I probably wouldn't play both, but yeah, I like either Robinson or Eckler in this spot a lot. And then, I mean, based on this projected ownership, like not a lot of heat on Mike Evans here, and he has. It would be, I think, fair to argue that he has the highest ceiling of any wide receiver on the slate, maybe other than Puka, maybe other than Nico.
Are you really going to come on to my YouTube channel and just fucking ignore Justin Jefferson? I mean, my God, Jacob.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah, in my mind, Minnesota won last week.
Sure.
Yeah. It's also 7:36 in the morning, so haven't had the coffee yet. But yeah, Mike Evans, I think, obviously, like if you're playing this game to go crazy, like I feel like a lot of people are very excited to use this game to stack it, but also to save salary. So you're going to get a lot of people like slapping themselves over Jalen McMillan's and Olamide Zaccheaus's and whatever. And like, I might just do like Mike Evans plus a Washington.
No, this will be the slappy. This will be the slappy. Like Jalen McMillan, Cade Otten, Olamide Zaccheaus, De'Ami Brown, Sterling Shepard, who maybe is not the worst play actually. But yes, this will be slappy central.
To me, you can actually play this game like in a pretty straightforward fashion, which is Washington running back, because Jaden Daniels is going to be insanely owned. Like the way that most people are going to play this, they're going to play Jaden Daniels, and then they're going to play two Washington guys, which means that they'll play Terry McLaurin, and then they're going to play like a random commander, so Zaccheaus or Ertz or whoever. And then they'll play Bucky Irving from the Bucs, or they'll save salary with J-Mac. So I would probably just flip that around, and I would play Baker with Evans. And then if I want to eat some J-Mac chalk, I guess I could do that. Or I could do it with the Bucs tight end, and then just come back and play Robinson or Eckler. And that also fits because I think that Washington's going to win this game. So I think they're going to play from ahead. So
why do you think Washington is going to win this game? What's your you just think they're better?
They've just been better than Tampa all year long. Like I think both these defenses are pretty suspect. I definitely think that
Tampa
has a massive advantage at quarterback.
Last 5 weeks, Tampa Bay top 5 in the NFL in EPA per play. I know they played a bunch of dog shit teams.
They also lost to the Cowboys and almost lost to the Saints.
Yeah, but I mean, who cares? Baker, dude. Baker's
I'm not a Baker guy. I hate all of your
God, dude. You hate Baker and you hate Jalen Hurts. Do you even like fun? Do you even enjoy fun?
No.
Baker is like the quintessential. If you're a bad team, if you're a non-Super Bowl team, you want Baker as your quarterback.
Like I understand. Best. I understand that Baker is like for a lot of people. I like. Did you see the like TikTok clip of like Theo Ash ripping on Baker and then everybody ripping on Theo Ash circulating over the last week?
I gotta be honest.
Maybe you're not online enough. Maybe you're too busy drafting gauntlet teams.
I do not know who Theo Ash is. I gotta keep it real with you.
Wow, good for you. Good for you. Anyway, that's just kind of how I feel about Baker. For the people that did watch the Theo Ash clip for the
you have to tell me who Theo Ash is. Is this
he's like this football TikToker film guy who's like, I guess kind of annoying, but I would say like at least knows football a little bit compared to some other football TikTok people. But he went on this like podcast and he was just ripping Baker Mayfield, and then everyone made fun of him because like Theo's very good at like doing rage bait. So like he will say something that's a little bit ridiculous. And
you know what? You know what? I lied. I did see this. See this because there's a guy who I do not follow him, but I know who he is. And I read his tweets every once in a while. that I like to hate read his tweets. Joe A NFL. He's the guy
Correct.
who thinks
Joe A is a great hate read, and he's like I think Joe A is like multiple tiers dumber than Theo, but it's a similar vibe of like, I am posting to make you upset.
Yes. And so I was hate reading that guy's. I wanted to hate read that guy's tweet after Jaden Daniels made the playoffs again, because he was like, Jaden Daniels is not an NFL quarterback, and he was reposting this Theo Ash guy being like, this guy doesn't know ball, which is just so funny. Anyways, that is a long way to say I think that might lead to Baker being underowned in this game, actually. If Jaden is going to be the chalk part. Yeah.
This is the funny thing, you know. I'm a paragon of objectivity. I don't like Baker at all, but I will play him in DFS this week. That's for sure.
Yeah, and I will also play. I literally do not care what Bucky Irving's ownership projection is. I like him straight up more than Henry. I like him straight up more than Barkley. I think like he just like Rachaad White got 0 touches last week in a must-win game.
This is worth noting. I feel like people tuned out a little bit because it was week 18. Maybe your listeners did not, but I tuned out. I watched 0 seconds of football in week 18. Not gonna lie, but then I looked at the stats and I saw that Rachaad White had 0 touches, and I went, "Wow, that's pretty cool." So Bucky, tough to fade. One of the great talents of our league, even at 35% projected ownership.
Correct. I don't even think Bucky is that good, really. Like in the grand scheme of things, it's just.
Come on.
Let me tell you, man. When Bucky Irving comes in next season weighing 210 pounds instead of 195, boy, are you going to hate. Bad. Yeah, you're going to hate watching him play.
Yeah, but he's not. But he's not 210 now.
Yeah. All right.
All the sun shines, my guy.
You know what? That might not have even been the Bonanza game. This might be the Bonanza game, the Monday night finale, the Minnesota Vikings traveling to play
this is my entire playoff best ball season over before it starts game.
Are you all in Vikings or all in Rams?
Just like egregiously all in Vikings.
Yeah, I gotta say, if you were all in Vikings, you did not want to see this matchup. You really, really did not want to see them playing.
I'm not afraid of the Rams.
Yeah, dude, I think that's a mistake. Matt Stafford is just a great quarterback. There's just really no way around it.
I would have preferred the Bucs, but
the Vikings beat the lid off the Buccaneers. I think this game they're drawing very live to be down 10 points at halftime in this game. I think.
Yeah, I don't want to live in that reality, but the Rams are a little scary for sure. Although it might not be a home game, it might be in Phoenix.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, the wildfires and shit. That's crazy. Okay. This is what I'm thinking, though. I think the visceral response to how bad Sam Darnold and the Vikings were in a must-win game that everyone is watching is going to lead to all Vikings pieces being about 2% to 5% less owned than they should be. Right. So Jefferson, Darnold, Addison, particularly Hawkinson, because everyone was ready for Hawkinson to smash like a revenge game, yada, yada. He was awful in that game. I mean, he was not awful. Darnold was awful in that game. I got to say, man, is there anyone more familiar with getting punched in the mouth and then getting back up again than Sam Darnold? How many times has Sam Darnold been punched in the mouth in his life? A lot of times. Man has been punched in the mouth a lot of times, Jacob.
Got into that stuff. Yeah, for sure. I think he'll get back up. I mean, he already had this game before against the Jags, right? Like, it's not like that was the game where it was like, everybody's like, "Oh, we're waiting for Sam Darnold to be pumpkin. Now he's a pumpkin again." And then he just came back and he started playing well again. I think everybody's going to try and ascribe linearity to the Sam Darnold season, and it's like Sam Darnold is who Sam Darnold is. He's going to have games like this. You just hope that it doesn't happen in the playoffs. He'll also have games like all of the other games he had this year when he's done more than enough.
Well, no, we got pumpkin Darnold a couple times. Remember the second half against the Jets in the London game?
Yeah, that was a pumpkin game.
That was really bad. Now, Stafford is not immune to the pumpkin game either. It happens in a very different way for Matt Stafford. It's where honestly, in a way, it's like his body gives up on him. He just can't evade pressure at all. And he basically just delivers these statuesque, like no hopers. I think the best thing that's happened to the Rams and why they ended up winning the division was he was like, you know what? I'm sorry, Breakfast
Puka
Club.
Nacua is healthy.
No, but remember when Puka came back?
Oh, are you saying we were right about Cooper Kupp all along, perhaps? Or are you saying that Cooper Kupp is actually old and washed?
I'm not saying either of those things. I'm saying that Cooper Kupp is playing through a high ankle sprain that he never fully healed from.
God. Oh my God. He's toast, dude.
Well, it'll actually be Cooper Kupp will be an incredible 13th round pick next year. He'll be so Adam Thielen. He will be the most Adam Thielen-ass guy you've ever seen in your life.
Cooper Kupp wishes he was Adam Thielen. He sits alone in his room with a frame of Adam Thielen, and he stares at longingly.
Let me tell you, though, man, Cooper Kupp he won't be 1.83%, but he's going to be a lot closer to 1.83% than you'd imagine.
Yeah, he is 0% of my teams. You couldn't pay me to play that geriatric.
Oh, you could pay
DFS.
me.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I know you could. You're gonna be martingaling that loser all.
Well, it's just like, dude, this is it's.
I would rather play Tutu Atwell.
You don't even mean that. What about Naylor? I think Naylor might be kind of interesting.
Yeah, Naylor's had an increased role recently. He is slightly interesting.
Which, by the way, makes sense for Naylor. I did just want to play because I've heard people be like, Naylor, where did this come from? So Naylor was a big part of the offense for the first 6 weeks of the season. Then Hawkinson came back and they started playing a bunch of 12. Now Hawkinson is healthy and playing like a normal complement of snaps, which means that Josh Oliver and Johnny Munt don't have to be on the field to just like basically be TJ Hawkinson's concierge anymore, which means that Naylor can play more. So Darnold,
I like that.
Darnold or Baker. Darnold or Baker, you can only play one.
Probably Baker because I think he'll be less owned, but I think they're similar in a vacuum.
Yeah.
I also think that the stack's a little bit cheaper with Baker because you can there's a lot of cheap commanders on the way back. Evans is he's basically the same price as Jefferson, but slightly cheaper. And then whoever you play as your secondary Buck is going to probably be cheaper than your secondary Viking, unless you actually do get into the Jalen Naylor stuff. Because Darnold, Jefferson, Addison, and the problem is with the Rams, at this point in time, we were joking about Cooper Kupp earlier, but it really is Kyren and Puka. That is who gets the ball in the Los Angeles Rams. So if you play Darnold, Jefferson, Addison or Hawkinson, and Puka or Kyren, that's gonna take a chunk of change. Now it's time to put in Likely and Wicks, which is what I'll do. But that's a little bit more cost prohibitive than the Tampa stuff and the Washington stuff, I think. I would also note we are staring at a 19% projected ownership for Aaron Jones. My read is that's not going to be the case.
He's hurt.
I think he's playing a little hurt, maybe too hurt to play, but the vibes on him are not good. He used to be a guy because I draft a lot of Vikings in the playoff basketball stuff. And I used to always have to grab him at the early third because if you needed that running back, he was never making it back to you in the late fourth. He now kind of does half the time make it back to you in the late fourth. We were doing a stream on Monday night doing playoff basketball, and everybody was like, why are you guys taking Aaron Jones? He's worse than Cam Akers. He sucks. He's hurt. He's a bum. Josh Jacobs gets a higher percentage of the touches. That's not how playoff basketball works. But the vibes on him are not good. So I think you could come in way underowned on that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you are likely correct about that. All right, man. Let's build the team and then we'll do some gold star plays and we'll move on out of here. I will let you pick first.
All right. I will. What game I want to pick from here?
You can take an expensive guy if you want.
Sure. All right. I will start us off with Mr. Michael Evans.
I think that is such an interesting one. Evans versus Puka versus Jefferson. And because Evans is more expensive than Puka, I actually think his PON will be lower than you come into this slate and you're like, oh my God, I want to jam Mike Evans. And then you build your lineup and you're like, well, I could just save $300 and play Puka, right? I think that is effectively how it's going to work.
I think Evans is very capped in terms of his ownership this week, which I think makes him a very good play.
I agree. I will be brave enough to light the candle. I will take Dontayvion Wicks for 4,500 DraftKings dollars. Yeah.
Stunning.
Don't go out on any limbs, Davis.
Yeah, but you know who you are. You know who you are.
I know who I am. I know what I'm about, and I'm comfortable with that.
All right. I will plant my flag on Baker Mayfield.
All right, Baker Mayfield. We're doing the Bake Show. I will say, I did just want to make this note. Cade Otton is neither confirmed in nor out right now. Otton, if he's in, Payne Durham, if he's out, these are like such good leverage plays. They're just like, they're very, very good plays in the scheme. Even though Devin Culp is, I'm sure there's like a Devin Culp dynasty hive out there that's like, oh, Devin Culp, I was just waiting for him to get his chance.
Actually, the league that we're in with you, that best ball league, it was like round 7 or whatever, 6, whatever. We had a really long rookie draft, and I was getting texts from Gretsch being like, I know we never really put it together at Washington, but Devin Culp's pretty athletic.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna take Isaiah Likely, 3,200.
Nice. We both pick anyway.
We both really like Isaiah Likely. Zay Flowers is going to be out here. I mean, actually, Likely's probably a better play if Flowers somehow is active because it will reduce his projected ownership. I mean, I obviously really like Mark Andrews, and I think you can certainly play them both together. It's really interesting because I would bet most users are not going to do that because they don't want to burn the flex on Saturday afternoon. Yeah, I like that. We've not selected a running back yet. We have 5.5K left per slot. Haven't picked a defense yet either.
I will pick Brian Robinson Jr. We're building out our buck stack. I'm a big B-Rob fan. I think that I don't know. I'm not sure that they're going to be like. I'm not sure that Washington's attitude. Maybe it should be, but I'm not sure that their attitude is going to be like.
Are you concerned that Brian Robinson Jr.
every single time?
Are you concerned Brian Robinson Jr. has just been brutal for a month? Any concern?
Slightly concerned. Especially because it's like coming off of injuries, right? So it's not ideal.
Yeah. He, just to give people an idea, 5 carries for 10 yards against the Cowboys, 13 for 60 against the Falcons in overtime. That was no Eckler. 10 for 24 against Philadelphia. That's crazy. That came in a win. 21 for 65 against New Orleans. Has not scored a touchdown since December 1st. I think I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm not arguing with you, but I think the field is going to think like I do, and they're just going to be like, oh, I can't play Brian Robinson Jr., even though he's against this Buccaneers defense who's been terrible. But I do like Mr. Eckler. You know what? Let's just do the Giga stack. Let's just take Bucky. We've got 4.9K left per slot, which actually is fairly attractive. So we've got Mayfield, Brian Robinson Jr., Bucky Irving, Mike Evans, Dontayvion Wicks, and Isaiah Likely. You probably, I guess you want the Packers defense because you think the Eagles stink and Jalen Hurts stinks. And
I don't need to play the Packers defense. I'm not sure that the Eagles are going to turn it over a bunch.
Well, let's do the Texans. 2,700. That's a low scoring game. Herbert, like whatever. He's good. He's good for a strip sack. We got $12,100 left for a wide receiver and flex.
12,100. Oh, so we have actually a lot of money here.
6K left per slot for 2 slots.
Okay, so I was going to go really low salary, but we don't even need to. All right. So let's do. I'm trying to do the math in my head here, but the math isn't quite math like this time in the morning.
You take who you want, and I'll figure it out.
All right, I will leave you. I'm going to leave you quite a lot of cash because I was saying I think I want to play one of those cheap guys in the Texans spot in a lot of my lineups. So I will take John Mechie, which I think will leave you as much money as you could possibly imagine for the last pick. and you could upgrade the defense if you want to.
Wow, Mechie. I'm just curious right now, who is the highest projected flex? That's what I thought. I thought it would be Puka. No, we're gonna take Jefferson. This is a nice little team. Baker Mayfield, Brian Robinson Jr., Bucky, Mike Evans, Wicks, Mechie, Isiah Likely, Justin Jefferson, Texans. I do love. I'll probably do this in all my lineups. I'll leave a Vikings or Rams player in the flex on every one, just so I could be like, well, I've got hope.
This is a lineup I'll actually play. I think these are all guys that I like.
It's pretty strong. All right, man. Let's do our gold star plays, and then let's get out of here. And it's wild card weekend, so you can gold star play someone who's chalky if you want.
All right. Well, my gold star play. I have a few that I talked about over the course of the show, but probably the one that I'm most passionate about, especially a guy I'm going to get early information on, is Isiah Likely. I just think it's not just you get the combination of Flowers out opening up routes. And I really, really think that's the guy who they're going to. I trust Todd Monken. I think he thinks logically about these things. I think without the yak sort of Flowers, I think they're going to use Likely a lot in the underneath screen game, crossers, stuff like that. I think it's going to give him actual volume in addition to what's always his goal line role. So very, very into Isiah Likely. I think he's going to be a guy that I play a pretty high percentage of on Saturday, gather information on, and then work from there.
Yeah, I think that works for me. I would have done Isiah Likely. I will do a two-parter since half of this I'm an unreliable narrator on. The first one is going to be Wicks, Dontayvion Wicks of the Green Bay Packers, because I'm looking at the value wide receivers. So guys who were less expensive than 5,000. Wicks certainly, and in fact, you won't believe this. No one will believe this. Dontayvion Wicks actually has a higher single game score this year than Khalil Shakir. No one would believe that. Not one person. Dontayvion Wicks probably wouldn't believe that, but it is true. He has a 2-touchdown game this season. Then you've got QJ as the super chalk. You've got Bateman as the super chalk. You've got Olamide Zaccheaus. You've got Deontay Johnson, I guess. You've got these secondary Ravens guys, and I'm like, Wicks, I know is going to be on the field. I know he's going to get targeted. It should be a script that they pass. Doesn't mean it will, but it should be a script where we actually get some Jordan Love dropbacks.
And Malafar will say, nope.
Delayed handoff to Emmanuel Wilson on 3rd and 7. They'll never see it coming. Correct. And then my expensive gold star play. If I'm right about how ownership is going to shake out, where we're going to see Puka Nacua own 2-1 over Justin Jefferson, which, by the way, I think I am right about. I do think we will see Puka being 2-1 owned over Justin Jefferson. I'm sorry. It's just not right. Just no way that is right. So I'm going to gold star play Justin Jefferson. That is going to do it for us about thinking about DFS. Jacob, thinking. Dynasty season has begun. What expect from thinking about thinking?
Well, if you are trying to jam in your last gauntlets, mittens, summits, what have you, I have a bunch of stuff up on Playoff Best Ball. My hope is that tonight is that I'm going to potentially get up a post either tonight or tomorrow on my favorite plays for the FFPC Playoff Challenge that obviously locks on Saturday. And then, I'll probably take a little bit of a break after that. But Dynasty content will be back in abundance in February. We'll do some sort of long-form Dynasty strategy stuff. Then March, we'll start kicking it off with all the prospecting stuff. It will be, definitely the time to lock in on the Virgin Dynasty streets for thinking about thinking coming up soon.
All right, everyone, make sure that you're signed up for Thinking About Thinking. Make sure that you like this video. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel and comment down below your gold star play. We'll be back with you guys next week, and good luck on the slate. It's Short King Summer, dude. It just feels like no one in fantasy sports ever learns anything. Does he mistime it, or is Brock Bowers just a grown man? Brock Bowers is just a grown man. Dare I say, Rich, football might be back. In the words of Lane Johnson, this offense looks constipated. It's